Hi everyone, a very good morning to all of you. So today we are going to learn day 2 of Kubernetes projects, and in this project few high level things which you will be learning is what is deployment in Kubernetes, how to deploy a Python Flask application in Kubernetes, and how to browse that applications, and what is exactly difference between pod and deployments. So first, if you understand pod, what is pod? A pod is the smallest and simplest unit in Kubernetes. It represents a single instance of running process. So suppose you might have a question in mind. Why I have to create deployment using pod? I can deploy my applications. Yeah, that's okay. But that pod is ephemeral. Ephemeral means pods are not durable. So if pod is deleted or crash, it is not recreated automatically unless it's managed by high level controller like deployment and replica set. So only pod in our first project we deployed only pod. So that is fine till the time pod is not crashing. And there can be multiple reasons your pod is crashed in your system. In that case, pod cannot recover automatically. So that's why we need deployment or replica sets. Pod can contain one or more containers that share the same network namespace, storage, and lifecycle. So first thing you understood, pod is ephemeral, like pods are not durable. Next is direct management. You can create and manage pod directly, but this is not recommended for production workload because they lack self-healing and scaling capabilities. Because you cannot create multiple pods for same applications. Second, it cannot heal automatically. You need some managers, some management ways like deployments or replica sets to manage them. Even though with pod you can do things, but due to these problems like it's ephemeral, no self-healing capabilities, you are not going to use pod. So on higher level, when pods are deployed using deployments, so deployment is like a high level abstraction that manages pod and replica sets. It provides declarative update for pod and ensure that desired state of application is maintained. So deployments are used to define how pods should be created, how scaling of pods should be done, how it should be updated, and how rollback should be done. So deployments are used to manage the life cycle of pod, ensuring the desired number of replica are running and handling updates and rollbacks. So now, if you can understand more detail about deployment, it's a declarative management, means you define the desired state, like how many copy of your pod, what will be the image, and Kubernetes will make sure that those things are met. Self-healing, so if pod is crashed or deleted, deployment will automatically change or replace that pod. It can scale, so you can scale this very easily. And rolling updates and rollback, suppose sometime you need to restart your pod just for some updates or some changes in your system. It happens in the rolling fashion. Rolling fashion means inside your Kubernetes manifests or inside your deployment YML, you can define like 25% of pod only needs to be deleted when you are doing some changes. So it will be done in the rolling fashion, like one by one pod the changes will happen. It's not like all pod will be deleted at the same time and new pods will be created. So this is rolling update and rollbacks. So your application will not be impacted because all pods are not going down at the same time. Few pods will still be available to serve the traffic. And next is replica set management. So deployments create and manage replicas which ensure the desired number of pod replicas are running. So I hope you understood difference between pod and deployments. In today's lecture, we are going to understand how we can deploy a Python Flask applications in Kubernetes and how to browse that application as well. So let us move to our lectures directly. Let us move to our day 2 folder. And in day 2, if you go, you have first create a Python web application using Flask, then create a Docker file. So that application needs to be Dockerized. So you have to build the image based out of that Python code, and then you have to create a deployment and service. But service we will not create in this lecture. In coming lectures we will understand about service, and then we will deploy it. So now once this is ready, then you have to deploy your applications. Now what is the Flask applications? First understand this. So Flask is a framework in Python which help you to create um, UIs or websites or browsers where you can access that. So Flask is a module. So first I am doing importing Flask and a request module to handle the API request. API request is like hitting into that particular web URL. You can do get, post, or put other kind of operations related to API. So first I'm importing my Flask applications in Python module, and after that creating an instance of it. What is creating an instance? So these modules need to be initialized in your applications. So once it is initialized, and in the initialize I am telling Flask and underscore underscore name, then application root we are defining. So at the rate app dot root, once it is initialized, then app dot root, and we are telling the root is this slash. So this slash is the root folder, like the root path. So get and post methods you are going to use get and post. And then we are telling define home is a function, and I am telling if request dot method is post, like something is getting posted, then message request dot form dot get name message request dot form dot get message, and then return hello, then your name, and then whatever the message you said, and then it will return. And from method post, we are telling name as input type is text name. So a text name will come, and then message, a text box will be there, and message input type again text, and the message you will be typing. So input type will have a submit button, and then submit, and then form is closed. So this is a normal code. And once you closed it, then you are telling if underscore underscore name underscore underscore is equal to main, then app dot run debug is true, means the code, all the errors will be displayed properly. And then host, you are allowing all the hosts, like 0.0.0.0 means all the hosts are allowed, which port you have to run the application on 5000 port. This line might seem confusing to you. Just understand on a as a layman that this says to your Python that this is not a module, this is a code which I want to run. So that's why you define this if underscore underscore name is equal to underscore underscore main. This means you are telling this is not a module, this program needs to be executed, and that's why we are doing app.run and then running on 0.0.0.0 and port is 5000. So I hope Python code is quite clear now. Now go to our Docker file. So Docker file, since it's a Python application, you need the Python software, right? So from Python 3.9-sleep, so this will be official image which will be downloaded from Docker Hub, and then working directory. What will be your work directory? Wherever you this code will be placed. So working directory is /app, and then what you are doing? You are copying dot to /app. Dot means your current directory, whatever the things are there, you are copying to /app, and then you are installing pip install Flask. So inside that Python you are installing Flask, and then you are exposing your application on port 5000, and then as a command you are running Python and then app.py. So this code will be run, and this is the Docker file. It will build the image and it will run expose the application on 5000 code, and it will run this app.py. Now, once your image is ready, then you have to create deployment. So in pod, if you remember, we just do /v1, here app/v1, and then kind is deployment. There it was pod, here kind is deployment. Metadata is same. So metadata name is Flask app deployment. You can put any name here. And in the specification sections, you are telling how many replica of your applications. I am defining 2 or 1. It's your choice. Then selector. Selector will match the labels. Label is like you are telling app name is Flask hyphen app. And then in the template, you are telling metadata, and in the label, your app name is Flask hyphen app. And then here you go to a specification sections, and in this inside the container your app name is Flask app. So this deployment, why matching labels are done, because this will match with this name, and then it will apply all those replica accounts and other thing there. And then image is Flask app, latest image, and image pool policy if not present, and port it will be running on 5000 port. So now first you have to build your Flask app. So Docker build hyphen t and then Flask app dot. Dot is like the current path where my Docker file is there. So here if you see, you will see Docker file is here, right? So now if you do, first check the pod. So KC get pods, and you see one Nginx pod in the first project it's running. So nothing else is running. Now you have to build your image because Docker file is here. So from here it will read the Docker file. So see, now it is so uh, copying is done, and then pip install is done. So images is ready. So if you do Docker images, you will see Flask app 5 hours ago. Okay, so previously the images were existing. That's why you did not see the new image got created. So let us do one thing. Just remove those images. So Docker RMI and then Flask hyphen app, and then Docker RMI Flask hyphen app, and then again check. So again one Flask app is there. So Docker RMI Flask app colon 0.4. So I remove this as well. So if you do Docker images, now you see no Flask related applications are there. So now build the image. So Docker build image Flask app, and maybe this time I'll put the tag also 0.5, and then run it. So now if you do Docker images, you will see Flask app right now with 0.5 tag is available here now. Now clear the screen, and you have to now do the deployments. But understand one thing. In the last lecture, I have told you, before creating the deployment, you are specifying the image here. So image is with the latest tag here. First thing, you change the tag to 0.5. But this image is not available publicly. It's stored in your local system, and we have not published this image through any of the Artifactory or Docker Hub. So how kind cluster can find this image? So for that purpose, what you have to do, you have to load this image in the kind cluster first. So how we can do that? We can, if you remember correctly, we have a way to load those images. So how? Kind load Docker image and then your cluster name. So just copy this, go here, but your image name is different, right? So here your image name is Flask, Flask hyphen app colon 0.5. This image needs to be loaded in your kind cluster. So if you see, image loading is running now. So once, yeah, now image is loaded. So once our image is loaded, now we are ready to do the deployments. So if you go here, I already explained you that we have changed the image. Now, if you save it and just go here, KC apply hyphen F, and then your deployment name is Flask app deployment.yml. KC is QCTL. Again, I am reiterating it. So alias we have set in our bash profile. So now if you see, deployment got created. So now if you do KC get pods, you will see two copy because we have defined two replica, and where you see two replica we have defined. So that's why two copy of your pod is running in your system. Now, what we want to do, we want to access these applications in the browser. As I explained you, these pods right now we have not created any service, so load balancing is not going to happen. But still we can do the port forwarding for any of this pod. So how to do that? Kubectl port forward and then your port pod name and then where. So on 8080 we are forwarding, but it's exactly pointing to port 5000. And what is 5000? 5000 is the place where your application is running. So if I do this port forwarding now, and if you go to your web browser, you can see on localhost 8080 it's running. Now suppose if name I put as DEVOPS take a stack, and a message I am telling good morning. And if I am doing the post request, so hello DEVOPS-TECHSTACK, you said good morning. So how this has worked? Because our Python applications, if you go to app.py, and here if you see in app.py, you are telling if request.method post and request.form get name. So with the form, it's getting the name and then getting the message, and then it is returning hello, your name. So whatever the name DevOps tech stack I type and your message. So this is returning this value. And this is a form which you are creating. And this form you see already available in the browser. So here if you see, there is a name form. So name is a text box here you see, and then message is also a text box which you see, and input type is submit. So here a button, submit button is there, and value is submit. So this form is helping you to get this, and this post request is helping you to post the message once we enter the values. So I hope you understood this Python application completely, how to create a deployment, and then how to do the port forwarding. That's it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much, guys, for giving your valuable time.